Thank you, Father Kelly, Reverend Fathers, any other guests, and my brothers. Today I'll be talking about my priest hero, Father Robert Schaller. He was my previous pastor to who I have now at my home parish. And he was probably the very first priest that really struck me for being an amazing person to get to talk to and get to know. I'll kind of talk about three different parts. We'll do how he fostered my vocation, some crazy stories that go along with him, and then as well how much he is a man of Christ. To begin with fostering the vocation, it was probably the first time in my life that I had really began to learn to love to serve. And under him, my parish really began to, increase the way in which we did the liturgy. It was really amazing to just see the transformation of the parish. It was amazing to see how he brought in this love of Christ into the liturgy and how that it really affected the entire parish. What kind of went from there, I had the opportunity to serve for Christmas Mass and for Easter Vigil. I had never done that before in my life. And I got to watch him sing or chant the Exalted for the first time. Never have ever heard that before. And in hearing that, I heard a priest who really loved Jesus Christ. And that love is what really fostered my want to be a priest. And another aspect to him as well is his prayer life. It was amazing to talk to him about the prayer life of him and how a priest really incorporates his life to prayer in every aspect. And with that incorporation, I actually my last year of high school, I had the opportunity to have him as my spiritual director and be able to learn from him how to pray. And prior to that, I never really had this sense of how to pray. And it was the beginnings of how to be silent in the chapel and begin to open up, say, Lord, what is it you want me to do? Versus, Lord, this is what I want to do. Now, where do we go from there? And thirdly, again, I had multiple conversations with him. And with those conversations, we have these bunch of little stories that he loved to tell. And one of his homilies that he gave routinely every year was about him as a child getting left behind by his family. So he had he has a very large family. Probably I think it was like 10 or 11 kids in his family. He was one of the middle child, or the middle child, I should say. And everyone's getting ready to go. They go to the supermarket and they get their stuff. Then all of a sudden, he finds that he's the only one left, and everyone else is gone. And in doing so, he just brought up a human side to the priesthood. That in his stories that he applied directly to the gospel or to any of the readings, he really showed how being a human, how being a priest, really is what you want. You want to be a priest that has a human side and can relate directly to the people. And then thirdly, a very, important, probably the most important part of him is how much he is a man of Christ. Before he entered the priesthood, right out of college, he went into the Marines, and he was there for 4 years. And he had combat experience in actually Okinawa, Japan, and then a little bit of around that area as well. And he likes to tell this one story to kind of really exemplify how much virtue this man has. And when he was in Japan and when he was stationed there, him and about a handful of his buddies there, whenever Friday night, Saturday night came around, usually it was not a good time to go out and finding things to do, because generally that was the night that the rest of the guys would go to prostitutes and stuff like that. And him, along with another man, they together said, no, that we are here for Christ, and Christ is calling us to a life of more meaning of that, of actually living for true love. that which you don't actually get through prostitution and such. And through that, and through all this virtue that he had gained throughout his time in the Marines, he later, after he was ordained, he was asked by the time, I think it was Bishop Burke at the time, to become a Navy chaplain. And so, as a Navy chaplain, he has combat experience and real-life experience that many of the men that he would be ministering to either had or were going through tough times with. And it was something that it was an amazing thing for him to have that experience and talk to the men that he was ministering to. That he shows them, like, no, I was a man who has all these ribbons and such. So I actually was doing stuff. I was actually in your shoes. That I know what it feels like to be you. And with that, he really was able to connect with all the people that he ministered to. And all in all, Father Robert Schaller is an amazing witness to being Christ to others. And that's why I like to say, praise be Jesus Christ.